So we are going to discuss about test plan. So if you remember the testing life cycle, the first stage was a requirement analysis. Okay. So in that requirement analysis, we'll just analyzing the requirements, nothing else. And once we understand the requirements which we got from the customer, and based on our understanding, we'll be preparing the test plan. Okay. And now we are going to discuss about test planning. Okay. So this is one of the test plan document which has complete details. So it will be having a table of contents. So what we are going to mention in the entire document. So those content in the very beginning itself it will be mentioned. So it's like you can consider it as an index. I'll be explaining all these things one by one. Okay. Okay. So I recommend you guys can have a running notes, because some points it is required and recommended to write then and there. Okay, maybe after that you might not able to find out in my material also sometimes. Okay, it's better to write running notes so that you can also remember what we have covered, last day and today, something like that. That's fine. So let's talk about test plan. So test plan basically has four categories, or four things. One is test strategy and execution strategy. Okay. The next one is test management process and test environment. Yes, am I right? Test environment, perfect. So when it comes to test strategy, so what is a test strategy? Okay, there is a question of what is a test plan and test strategy. Okay, so when somebody asks you what is a test plan, test planning is a document which has entire information how a testing has to be carried out. It has each and every information how a testing has to be carried out. Okay, and when somebody asks you what is test strategy is part of a test plan document, right? We can say that. And test strategy defines what are the testing types we have to follow, and what are the levels of testing we have to do, and what is the scope of testing, and what kind of data we have to use for our testing. Okay, so all this information will be mentioned in the test strategy. Types we have to. So what is testing type? Okay, we'll let you know what are the testing types we have to follow. And scope of testing. Scope of testing is nothing but, okay, so this is my product or this is my application, and what has to be tested. Okay, what exactly has to be tested and what not to be tested. Okay, so that, borderline we have to draw. okay, is nothing but, so these are my features, and I have to test only these features, okay, and not any other thing. We have to define that, we have to restrict, we have to test only this one. The other than this we should not test it, and we don't require to test it, okay. We have to say that. Scope of testing, and levels of testing, okay. Data to be used for the testing, and anything else. Okay, and one more thing, the test effort estimation. So how much time, how much effort we require to complete this, testing, the testing part. Okay, so these are the things we have to ensure in the test strategy. Okay, so one is, what are the testing types we have to follow? There are, broadly, testing types are classified into two things. One is functional, one is functional testing, and the second one is non-functional, non-functional testing. Okay, so when I talk about functional testing, so it is simply defined as giving the input, validating the output. Okay, so for every functional testing we give some input, we enter something, okay, and we do something, and we expect the output. So that's about functional testing. Let's say there is a login feature, okay, you enter the username and you enter the password, and you will be clicking on the login button. As and when you click on the login button, you should see a welcome page, okay. So in case if you are giving the valid username and password, you should see the welcome page. Otherwise, if you are giving the valid username or invalid password, something like that, some invalid data, you should see a error message, okay. That's about expectation. If you give a valid username and password, you should see the welcome page, and if you give the invalid details, you should see the error message. So that's about expectation, right? So for everything you give the input. The input can be a, plain text you are entering, or the number of steps you are doing, okay. So open the browser, click on this link and click on this link, you should see some this page, okay. So it could be anything, okay. You perform certain steps and you expect the output, okay, and you match whether this output are you expecting or not. If it is the same output which you are expecting, the test case will be passed. Otherwise the test case will be failed. And in the functional testing there are many other test cases, and many other test types, sorry. So, and in the non-functional, testing, there are many other test types. So we'll be see one by one later, but right now you remember there are two test types. One is functional and non-functional, which are broadly classified. Non-functional is nothing but here you will be measuring the quality of the application, or the responsiveness of the application, how stable it is, okay. So when more number of users logged in, how it works, okay, such kind of things, how it behaves, how it responds. So these kind of non-functional attributes will be looking in the non-functional testing. So when it comes to scope of testing, we have to define what we have to test and what we should not test. That's it, nothing else. When it comes to level of testing, okay, so we have to do, so unit testing. So what levels of testing we have to do? Unit testing, okay, and integration testing, okay, and system testing, and yeah, there is a possibility of doing exploratory testing, something like this, okay. Unit testing is nothing but the very basic testing. In the very beginning we'll be doing it, and integration testing is nothing but So we'll be combining certain modules. In our previous class, we discussed, right? It's a fund transfer is one module, and view account summary is one module. Adding the payee is one module. Okay, I'm talking about banking application, and linking a loan account to our bank application is one module, and linking credit card you know information to the bank is one module, and requesting checkbook or ATM pin or whatever it is one more module. Okay, and doing investments from the bank itself is one more module. Okay, so how each module communicate with other module. Okay, so the communication we are going to test in the integration testing, how one module will communicate with other module. Okay, all those things we are going to discuss in the integration testing, we'll be doing in the integration testing. And system testing is nothing but the whole product will be testing from end to end. Okay, so we log into the banking application, we see the view account summary, and we do a fund transfer, and we come back again, we see the view account summary, I mean view balance, and then we log out. It's an end to end. Okay, one more scenario is like log into the system, view the balance, add the payee, do the fund transfer, and add again view the balance and log out. It's a end to end, end to end product. This product might interact with other external things. Okay, so as and when you add the payee, you will be getting a SMS. Okay, so that could be a third party supported. The SMS server might be supported by some other third party. Okay, which is not part of our product. Okay, so during the system testing you will be testing the whole product, not module by module. Or so in the integration testing you will be testing so two modules how it is communicating, or three modules how it is communicating. So those kind of things you will be doing in the integration testing. When it comes to the system testing, you will be combining, you'll be using the entire system, entire product, including the third party vendors. Okay, so you will be testing the entire whole no, whole product, and making sure that the end to end user scenarios are working fine. Okay, as I said, so log into the system, do the fund transfer, log out, log into the system, you know link the credit card to the bank and see the information and log out, something like that. End to end user scenarios you will be doing in the system testing. So when it comes to exploratory testing, so you have executed all your test cases. Okay, so you have executed all your test cases, and you are nothing to no other test case to execute. Okay, now during the exploratory testing what you do is, so based on your experience, based on your level of experience on the product, so you'll be guessing. Okay, so let me execute, let me execute these feature once again. It seems it is looking like weaker. Okay, so you'll execute that particular feature and make sure it's working fine. Okay, so based on your experience, you know which kind of feature is error prone. Okay, which kind of feature has you know uh, is weaker, or which is error prone. So that kind of features you will be retesting again. Okay, you will be testing once again, but you don't have any test cases in your hand, so you'll be randomly testing it. So that's about exploratory testing. And what kind of data to be used. Okay, so you should have some let's say if it is a banking application, you should have at least some thousand users for the basic testing. And so, and what else you have, you should have some transactions in your application. Okay, so you'll be identifying the data, what kind of data you require, how much data you require, such kind of things. And finally you estimate, okay, so how many, these are the test types we have to use. And so these are the levels of testing we have to do, this is the scope of testing. And finally we estimate. So it takes some 400 hours or 500 hours, something like that, you'll estimate it. Okay, so that's about test strategy in the test planning. Okay, test strategy is broadly classified into what are the testing types which we have to use, and scope of testing, level of testing, and data to be used, and test effort estimate. Broadly, we will be looking into all these things in the test strategy. Okay.